and conflicts across America, which may in the end trigger an American civil war. Will nuclear weapons be used in this war at any point? And my intuition tells me it won't be, okay, for many, many reasons. Okay, the first major reason is this is huge taboo against the use of nuclear weapons. If America were to detonate a nuke, America would lose all credibility, all authority among its allies and among the world. And we have to remember, like this war is being fought to reestablish American credibility and authority in the world. Putin's invasion of Ukraine did a great deal of damage to Americans' reputation. And fighting this war in Ukraine is to reestablish the idea that America is still the global hegemon, that it is still a unipolar world. And so by detonating a nuke, it shows the desperation, anxiety, and quite honestly, incompetence of American military. Okay, so for that reason, I don't think America will use nukes. Also, even though Putin has not publicly stated that he will retaliate if America will use a nuke against Iran, he hasn't done this publicly because it's not to his advantage to say it publicly. But I'm sure that through back channels, through intermediaries, Putin has made this very clear to the Americans. Putin will tolerate an American invasion of Iran, but he will not tolerate nuclear weapons being used in this war. So I think we can discount the use of nukes in this war. We would have to reach a very high point in the escalation ladder for even nukes to be considered in this war. Okay, so I think that for the purpose of analysis, let's discount the possibility of nukes. Second question is, what are unknowns going into this war? Okay, well, I think there are three big unknowns. The first big unknown is what happens if the Americans kill the supreme leader of Iran? This would trigger a succession crisis. His son is supposed to take over in the case of the death of the Ayatollah, but he's extremely unpopular and he's not that competent. So I'm not sure if the death of the supreme leader, the assassination of the supreme leader, what that would do to the dynamic of this war. But I would assume that this would be a huge advantage for the Americans and the Israelis. So I think that's a big question. Will they be able to assassinate the supreme leader? Okay, that's the first big question. Second big question is, what will Putin's response be? And I think, as we know, Putin has withdrawn a lot of his Russian advisors from Iran, and Putin has stayed pretty quiet in the matter. And so what he intends, what he will do, we just don't know right now. And I think that's the intention. I think Putin wants to be the power broker behind the scenes. In many ways, he's setting up a trap for America, because there's really one scenario in which America loses this war, okay, really badly. If America was sending ground troops, it would lose this war. And the reason why is the idea of sunk cost fallacy. All right, so if America were to send in the Marines and a ground invasion, we can expect the American military would just bulldoze all opposition. It would establish beachheads, it would establish forward operating bases throughout the interior of Iran. And at this point, everyone's like cheering on, like, look how great the American military is. There's a surge of patriotism in America. The American media, CNN, New York Times, they are just praising the American military to the sky. And it would seem a repeat of Operation Desert Storm in 2003. The problem, though, is the American military does not have the depth, the strategic depth, the resources, the supply lines in order to sustain this attack. And what would happen very quickly is this massive blitzkrieg, shock and awe, or whatever you call it, in Iran would get bogged down really quickly. And at this point, it'd be very easy for the underground militias, these cell groups, to strike at supply lines for the Americans. And it would become very quickly almost an impossible war to win for the Americans. And but at the same time, they've invested so much, and they're so close to Tehran, right? They're so close to taking over the capital, so they can't give up. It's sunk cost fallacy, and sunk cost fallacy is such a powerful force in geopolitics. And so the Americans are kind of stuck there, and then they're just forced to. It's a black hole for them. They're just forced to throw in resources that they don't have, and this might trigger. This will definitely trigger protests across America, which may lead to a civil war. So remember, it's impossible for any nation in this war to defeat America. Just impossible. All right? Even if the entire world were to get together and attack America, the world would still lose. The only way to defeat America is by causing a civil war, a revolution in America that would damage the regime so much that America would be forced to retreat from its obligations in the world. Okay, so my question then is, does Putin understand this? And he set up conditions in a way to create this outcome. And my thinking is, yes, this is Putin's plan moving forward, and Putin will be working behind the scenes in order to create a situation where America is forced to invade Iran with ground forces. These ground forces will seem to be really quickly establish supremacy in Iran, but they get bogged down, and then Trump, the Americans may be forced to have a draft, and this will lead to Vietnam War protests. So that's Putin and Russia. But again, we don't know exactly what they will do. But if I'm right about Putin, then I think he will very much be the master manipulator behind the scenes. The third great unknown is China.